Hey guys, just a quick mic check.
Hello, hello.
Awesome, sound good. Sound good. Okay. Okay, awesome. Appreciate everyone joining us right now. We'll just give it 1 second. Okay, awesome. We can do a quick intro while people pile in. Dan Favor, glad to see you listening in. One of our best community members. Appreciate you for joining. Same with Tranam. Thanks, guys. For those that obviously join very frequently, you guys know how these go. We're going to chat for a bit with a wonderful guest from Lightlink. We have Roy joining us today. Um, Great to get a chance to chat again, learn a bit about Lightlink and, obviously the campaign ongoing on Galaxy as well, and, what that means and what you guys can expect. Obviously, the title is very fun because when we hear airdrop, I think everybody gets very excited. So I know I do, of course. But with that, let's just go ahead and we'll get to know Roy a bit, get to know Lightlink a bit, and then we can go over those details as well. So Roy, feel free to give us an intro to yourself and maybe a bit of your background as well.
Excellent. Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
You guys have been fantastic in supporting us and supporting our growth. And handled the situation a couple of days ago really well. So, a lot of
Appreciate that.
respect there, man. Yeah. I'm one of the founders for Lightlink, and I've been in the technology industry for the past 22 years, a long time.
Wow.
um, Yeah, with a computer science background, love technology for all of my life,
Awesome.
and done a lot over the years, from building video gaming communities, media companies, e-commerce companies, and in 2017, we created a blockchain solutions company called Pella in Australia. And
Yeah.
over the years, we've built numerous Web3 solutions. So, from digital wallets to exchanges to digital banks and asset tokenization platforms, and many, many different NFT projects. Um, and kind of have a good idea of what's happening in the industry, what the technology does, and what it needs, and things like that. And one of the core aspect of our capability is a enterprise blockchain technology, and we deploy that technology to many businesses around the world, and
Mhm.
saw how it was fairly opaque and not interoperable and not transparent for people to build on top of. And when the concept of layer two came around, we thought, hey, wouldn't it be great if we reconfigured our technology into a layer two deployment and addressing a lot of the layer one issues we saw, which was latency and cost. So
Yeah.
that was the genesis of Lightlink. And when we started working with other large corporates in Thailand, in Australia, around the world, we wanted to create a blockchain that addresses some of the gaps in the industry and also benefit many customers that we already have. So that's sort of Lightlink.
Awesome. It really sounds like you've had your thumb like right on the epicenter of everything in so many different areas for so long. Um, it's interesting, yeah, the different prospects, especially in technology. It's so vast. It's very cool to see you have such a rich history. Especially obviously being a founder behind Lightlink. So you did give us a nice little brief intro. Of course, we can go into a bit more details. I'm just curious, obviously, besides yourself. How big is the team behind Lightlink currently? Are you guys, still smaller, just grinding it out, or really kind of finding your own?
Yeah, being the a builder in this state of the market, I think we need to be cautious
Yeah.
in terms of how we, deploy capital, how to grow, right? Because I've seen, and also over my career, I've seen many businesses that deploy capital ahead of trajectory, ahead of growth, and saw substantial detrimental effects to the business, right? So we try to keep ourselves lean, but the same time deploy capital, grow the team as needed. So I wouldn't call ourselves a very large team, but we certainly have capabilities to execute elements of community, marketing, ecosystem, foundation, technology, and many other aspects of what's needed to stay ahead.
Of course, I think that's a perfectly respectable approach. And I think many should, go into a lot of these things with that same mindset. It's important to understand the rate of growth you're at versus obviously, how much capital do you have to deploy? And yeah, I like that you mentioned you do have obviously your eyes on all of these different aspects of the ecosystem because it's tough to really take control of right away, especially with faster growth as well. It can be very overwhelming, and just making sure you have the right guys, not too many guys, of course. I think is perfect. So, um,
Yeah,
sorry,
exactly
go ahead.
right, man. Like a couple of guys who are actually listening right now, Dan and Shane, who I can see on
Awesome.
a list of attendees. So we can't do it alone, right? So we need the best people behind us and work together to create something amazing.
Yeah, I completely agree. At the end of the day, like just the statement of you can't do it alone is so right. And, yeah, I appreciate that sentiment. It's we feel the same, obviously, over on our team as well. It's yeah, it's a hard process, but when you love what you do and you've spent so much time in the space, it just fits. So, and now so continuing into Lightlink, you gave us a brief kind of intro into what was sort of the spawn of Lightlink, but in your best terms for those that may be not as tech oriented and tech oriented, could you give us your best intro to Lightlink and what team someone like etc.
I just lost you a little bit there, but I think you were talking about a technical as well as a non-technical description. Is that right?
Your best intro to what team when someone would see Lightlink is involved, for example.
Sorry, I still lost you a little bit, but let me give it a go. So from a technical perspective, firstly, Lightlink is a layer two blockchain network built on top of Ethereum. It's full EVM compatible. We operate at a fairly fast transaction speed, so 500 millisecond in block time, and we have a capability in processing up to 5,700 transactions per second. We have the ability to increase that, but let's see how we go with the current capacity first. The native tokens Ether from a public permissionless open network perspective. So you can bridge over Ether, use Ether to deploy smart contracts, and build dApps or whatever DeFi protocol that you want to deploy on the chain. Lightlink also has a capacity for a enterprise mode. So when that mode is engaged, interacting with a smart contract becomes gasless, and that removes one of the biggest complexity, in my opinion, and that's the need
Yeah.
of a native token for a transaction to be processed. So when that's toggled, hopefully we can align ourselves to real world applications substantially more than other protocols, and we can transport or be configured to cater for real world applications like payments, like lending, borrowing, and many other real world use cases.
Yeah, I agree. And cut me off if you lose me again. Hey, just want to make sure you can hear me. All right, maybe there was a connection issue. You can hear me right now, correct?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, just cut me off if you lose me. So yeah, I agree. I think this is very interesting, especially with the gasless option. I mean, that's just the largest barrier, I think, in general when it comes to a lot of connectivity. And so I'm curious. You mentioned enterprise mode. Could you maybe give us just a more detailed version of what enterprise mode means, and maybe even cover what each tier means for enterprise mode?
Yeah, sure. So if we are crypto natives, and we understand the complexity of interacting with crypto networks quite well, being able to try to remember and safeguard your seed phrases, understand encryption to a
Mhm.
degree, and try to understand economics in dealing with crypto networks. You have to set your gas limit, your gas price, and you push through a transaction using a native token, right? So those are very much native languages for us in the crypto world, and we have a fairly small community in comparison to the rest of the world. So,
Yeah.
firstly, I believe the technology is really important for the wider world to benefit from. It's I think as important as the internet, right? Because it has that immutability, it has the placing data on chain and having programmatic money, being building the future of finance. It's an important technology, but technology can't stay complex and be hidden behind and benefit a small group of users. It has to be surfaced and introduced to the the larger world, right? For it to show how important it is and to benefit the rest of the world. So so if we use the analogy that I spoke about before, in the real world, it's almost like you going to a cafe, buying a cup of coffee, and you're paying $5 or whatever it is that you pay for a latte at Starbucks.
Yeah.
You need a secondary currency for that transaction to happen. If you're using Mastercard, for example, you need something which is equivalent of a Mastercard coin for your coffee to be purchased. And how do you get Mastercard coins? You have to go to a separate place, a crypto exchange and KYC and AML, and then get
Yeah.
Mastercard coins for you to buy that cup of coffee. It's really complex, man. So when you look at applications for blockchain, whether if it's supply chain or payments or ticketing, it doesn't need to be that complex. If you have a ticket, which is an NFT, for example, you walk through the gate, that NFT becomes a use to use. It should be as simple as that. It should be, you have a digital app, you scan your QR code, and that state change happens. It's the economics that's deployed in the current public chains, being layer ones, need that economic model. But when you have a layer two with a different set of problems addressing a different market, then the economic model can be configured a little bit differently. That's when the enterprise mode really shines.
I completely agree with you, especially in the sense of needing to get to that point of the masses. It is such a hard piece. I love your analogy of getting a coffee. That's a fun one. Um, and it's exciting to see as we get closer and closer to these different pieces making sense. Especially just the less complex, the better. Like we'll never get to the masses if the system remains complicated. So I very much appreciate that outlook and what you guys are doing with enterprise mode here. That's very cool.
Yeah, exactly right. When we talk to sports partners, right, in the sports industry, when they address simple problems like how do I issue a digital memorabilia to all my attendees, right? And
Mhm.
it should be a simple problem to solve, but from a crypto blockchain networks perspective, a simple question like how do I issue 1 million NFTs? How much do I pay? And when you look at all the layer ones and layer twos, it's a really hard problem to answer. And it's because the economics model. And when you're dealing with layer twos, that's designed for scaling, maybe that question can be answered a little bit differently. And those are the problems that we saw when we were deploying NFT projects for Australian Open and for many other enterprise usage, and we had to answer that problem, a question we couldn't, and that's why we built Lightlink.
I love that. That's a great way to go about it. And now I'm on the site actually myself. I always do this. I go through it as I obviously chat with you. I'm curious. I've been interested in this for a while, and I've actually really never seen too many people going about this. It's the ticketing that you guys mentioned. Would you mind kind of covering in details, more of what your angle is with ticketing and what we can expect?
Yeah, sure. So there's a couple of things. I think Lightlink is the infrastructure to many different things. It's fairly agnostic in terms of what you want to build on top of the infrastructure.
Yeah,
We illustrate some of the use cases where you can build on top. Now, our Web3 solutions business, our equivalent of the labs business that many other public chains have, are actively looking at what industry can we add value to, and how can we shake things up a bit, and how can we partner with our enterprise customers to deliver value. And ticketing is one of those things that is coming up over and over again, and it's fairly interesting, and it shows the power of layer twos, right? And when you look at, firstly, a total addressable audience, when you look
yeah,
at a public network, maybe you can process 100 different tickets simultaneously. But when you look at a layer two configuration, that process needs to happen substantially more, right? You need to process hundreds and thousands, if not millions, of transactions every second, every hour. And
yeah,
so the ability to scale is important when you look at ticketing, but when you look at primary sales, secondary sales, it being a memorabilia, in terms of you might want to keep the ticket that you use as a way to say, hey, I've been to this great concert and I've had a great time at this concert, for a memorabilia as a digital collectible. So that as an NFT in your digital wallet could be done more interesting, right? And secondly, if you're buying a ticket from a secondary market, the how do you verify this ticket being authentic, or how can the ticket vendor capture the secondary revenue, capturing a percentage of the sale in the secondary market, are difficult problems to solve. And we've actually largely solved that in the NFT world, having the concept of these digital collectibles and royalties and marketplaces being available. So I think ticketing, it's quite suited for the NFT technology, but layer twos, especially with the gasless capability, provides substantial scale to the problem set.
yeah. As soon as you mention with ticketing in particular, the gasless aspect, I think is just so huge. Because I think the thing that really hits home is, your mention of hundreds of millions of transactions, obviously, and the sheer kind of volume of ticket sales in general in that market, right? And it really hasn't been touched for the longest time by anyone, and it is really interesting to see these different angles come out. And I love the digital collectible aspect. Obviously, you know that as who we are, right? It's always been such a big part of us as well, and that kind of does segue me nicely into the next question, where how did you guys find yourself, working with the Galaxy platform, and how has that experience been for you so far?
Yeah, great question. Our ecosystem lead, Dan, were looking at and assessing various platforms, and Galaxy came around being one of the most innovative, one of the best UX, and has the ability for on-chain data validation. I think those are really important factors for us. And also the team has been very supportive in terms of our growth and ability to work together. And as a premier partner and surfacing us and showcasing us, you guys certainly helped us heaps, right? So love to look at how we can provide that reciprocally as well to help each other to grow. And what looking at the existing community, the fantastic the size of the community, and how much interactions the community is able to support our growth has been fantastic as well. So yeah, thanks a lot. It's been a great platform for us to launch our and conduct our airdrop campaign on.
I appreciate that, and I'm just, yeah, I'm very grateful to hear that you've had that experience and that your community is thriving. It's something I really just love to see. When everything kind of lines up very nicely, and I think um, Apologies. I think in general, our two projects here just have so much in common in, the idea of, digital collectibles, obviously, scalability, the identity aspects, and obviously the verifiable data, which obviously, in my opinion, it doesn't get enough love, and I appreciate that. So thank you. And I'm glad you guys have taken the time to, work on this with us. And so obviously that segues me nicely into the next question, which, the current campaign that you guys are running on Galxe, the Pegasus Venture NFT. What can users expect when they get involved with this campaign, and how does this link obviously to the wonderful Twitter Space title, Lightlink's airdrop?
Yeah, great question. Um, I think it the current NFT, the being a early adopter to the network, that's what the NFT signifies. To say, firstly, have a go interacting with our chain, try to experience the gasless mode, but also it's a uh, it's a digital collectible. It's like a ticket stub that we were talking about earlier to show that you were here at this particular moment in time. And as we sign up to more partners in our ecosystem, look at how we can share the value we create and reward you for participating in our network, it's a signal for us to go, hey, you were here at this time really early in our journey and supporting us and giving us a go. So it's really about that. And there will be more and more information as we grow on our website, on our social, and also on Galaxy.
Of course. No, I appreciate that, covering that for everybody. And obviously, guys, you know where to go. Go to the Galaxy space, sorry, not Galaxy space, the Lightlink space. And yeah, take some time to get involved. I love seeing these early adopter campaigns. I think there's something just very kind of core that people enjoy. Like it really kind of just scratches an itch when you can kind of say that, like, I was there, right? I've always felt that. And I know many Galaxy users feel that as well. And like to show that off. So glad to see that coming. And also, I really do love I saw on your Twitter as well, the art and the design is very fun as well. So that's really cool. And so with that, beyond obviously the current campaign, what are some other ways that you'd recommend for users to get involved with Lightlink? Maybe different ways in the community, or any certain like pages or things you'd like to guide them to check out today?
Yeah, this is where I typically plug our airdrop on Galaxy, right?
Of
um,
course.
so, firstly, if you're a developer, come and talk to us. It's interesting because we want to unlock um, a roadblock typically is present in other public blockchains, and that roadblock is almost a mindset for how can I worry about the efficiency in gas, right? So when you look at Uniswap, it's a beautiful piece of technology, and it's AMM from its predominant trading capabilities. And the issue there is Uniswap can't deploy better UX because it's going to incur more gas. And even though other trading modes might be substantially better for users, but it's just going to be really expensive. Unfortunately, we have less of that problem on the layer two. So instead of copying and pasting exact things from layer one to layer two, we would love to challenge all the developers out there. If you don't have that mentality, don't have that baggage in terms of gas being really cost prohibitive for users, what can you surface to the consumers and users a better user experience? Can you design a DEX, its trading algorithm a little bit better? Can you design another DApp that's more usable because it's designed differently? So, of course, you feel free to experiment with the chain and deploy smart contract as is. But there is something a little bit more, and it's unlocked on Lightlink. So I think that's really interesting from a key differentiation perspective.
No, I think that's a great way to look at it, and an awesome teaser. So I like that one for sure. So yeah, a challenge to the developers that are listening, guys, get involved the best you can. Obviously it's such a fun experience when you get to go through a lot of this like early development process and testing process as well. So it's very cool to see. And with that, obviously, Roy, I just want to thank you for coming on today and giving us kind of the finer details with Lightlink, what you guys have to offer, how you plan to affect the ecosystem. Excited to see your community thriving. And with that, do you have any just final words for today for anybody listening? As well as maybe anything exciting we can expect as we get to the end quarter of the year.
Yeah, we have lots of fantastic partnerships and projects coming up. I can't wait to tell you guys about it. But we're a little bit old school in terms of let's do these things before we announce them, right? So
Of course.
we have some leading global media companies and sporting companies that would love to share what we're working on towards the end of this month and maybe a little bit earlier next month. We actually also have a couple of friends also on the pod on the AMA right now, and we're super excited uh, to be working with them on the next phase of their project. So
Very
that's just a
exciting.
little hint on the things coming up. But in terms of final words, like I said before, we can't do this alone. We have a fantastic team that is it working around the clock. It's blood, sweat, and tears, right? And making this into reality. So big kudos to the rest of the team in pulling all of this together, or all aspect of the team. And in terms of other things that's coming up, yeah, we will have further airdrop, Galaxy campaign, and various interactions. Uh, that's a part of our page coming up, and stay tuned and see what we do next.
Very exciting. I love the hints. I love the teases. Super fun. I also, yeah, do and then talk. I agree. So I'm excited to see what comes. Appreciate you once more for joining us. Was a wonderful discussion. Thank you everybody for listening, guys. Make sure you go to the Lightlink Twitter, follow, join the community, get involved with the Galaxy campaigns going on. And get ready for, obviously, from what we just heard, an exciting remainder of the year. So once again, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much. Thanks all.